Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Thank you for joining me for training. So as you're aware, senior management and the CEO wanted all staff to be trained by myself and Leonard in the IT department on how to use these new templates.
Yep.
So you've got a training plan right there.
Yep.
So this will break down what we are looking to do today. Today we're going to be looking at our expense reimbursement form. So as you might be aware, a couple of months ago, myself and the IT department worked on upgrading our document standards and style guide. We've added some new document standards because the company Simco is looking to automate processes and go from paper copies to electronic processes.
Yep.
From that, we've developed two new templates.
Yep.
One of them being the expense reimbursement form, and I'm going to teach you how to use that today. So being in a sales position, have you ever had to fill out a form like this before? Whether it's in this role or in another role with a different company?
Like not the digital one, like hard copies, yes.
Okay, perfect. So this might be a little bit of a different step for you, but hopefully we've made it as easy as possible. So this form is actually available on our staff intranet, and that's where you'll be able to take the template from. We don't allow anyone to make any changes to the template, so it does need to stay the same. However, if you do find that there is something missing that you think might need to be added into this template, we've got the staff feedback form that you need to give to the administration officer.
Yep.
So what we'll do is, if you want to open that up now.
Yes.
Perfect. And have you had a look at this form before today, or your first time seeing it?
First time.
Okay, perfect. So what we're going to go through first is, I guess, I'll explain what the format's going to be. So we're going to actually break the form down. So there's three different types of automated software that we've used with Excel. So we've used drop-down boxes to make things a little bit easier instead of having to type a lot in. We're also going to go through how to use formulas. So because there's going to be a lot of expenses that need to be calculated, we've actually used the sum costing figure and the sums in formulas. And macros as well. So macros are used to sort of automate things that you do all the time, and in that case we've used that for printing. I've got a printed version of what the handout and the form will look like there, so that's the aim for today. So what we will do first, if you don't have any questions about the process, perfect. So we're going to fill out the top part, so that's going to be details about yourself. So just type in your employee name to the cell. Wonderful. And then click, or you can tab down and you can put your ID number. So that's your number that appears on your payroll, on your pay slip, and that you use to log in as well. Perfect. So if you go to the next cell where it says week ending, that's actually going to be the pay week. So as you know, Simco employees are paid per week. So the aim of this is you're going to put in your expense reimbursement form for anything that you've accrued while working.
During that week?
During the pay week, yes. So because you've got some receipts here from a trip that you did to the Sunshine Coast, what we are going to do is we're going to choose the week ending on Sunday. So because we are currently Friday the 14th, you're going to be looking at 16th of February. So using the drop-down box, you're going to click...
That just goes to the last pay date.
Correct. So you're going to click the 16th of February. Wonderful. The next cell is going to be the manager name. So you need to just type your sales manager's name of your department. Perfect. So he will be the person that will need to approve this. So always just make sure that he's aware that you are going to be lodging this form. And then the next cell is department, but it's also a drop-down box. So you just need to select what department you're in. So you're in sales. Perfect. Does that all seem straightforward so far?
Straightforward, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So if you're not aware, so the reimbursement form is going to be completed by employees, myself, sales, human resources, for any sort of reimbursement that they are seeking when they've spent money during work time. So as a sales staff, you probably do a lot of travel. So you're based in the Brisbane office, but you travel to the Sunshine Coast. So do you know what types of things that you can actually claim for?
Not like fuel and for like travel time and tolls and such.
Yeah, definitely. And you can actually also claim for food.
Like
So if you're
lunches
so if you're allowed meal allowance, if you need to stay overnight for travel, you can actually claim for accommodation, expenses to do with entertainment, anything like that. So that's actually detailed in our category cell, so in the itemised expenses table. And that's actually a drop down box. So what we've tried to do is we have tried to categorise them as much as possible. If you feel like that there is something missing or it doesn't fit underneath one of the categories, you can actually put it as other and just make sure that you put in a description.
Oh, so that'll let me type in.
So if you think it doesn't fit into accommodation or travel, or it's something really obscure like professional development, you're more than welcome to just choose other. The date is obviously the date that's on the receipt or the date that the payment occurred that you needed to pay or outlay any of the expenses. And a description is just obviously as much detail that you can provide, payroll team and your manager as well. So for example, it looks like here with this receipt, you actually had lunch when you went up to the Sunshine Coast. So just I would type into that description box, meal allowance for lunch. And the date of this is the 12th of February. Perfect. So for the category, because it's a meal allowance, it should come under food and beverage. So if you want to click the category, meals, perfect. Sorry, yep. And then the cost here, you're actually going to do the whole cost including GST. So in that case, it's $35.71. Perfect. Alright, and so because you had to use your own car as well, we're actually going to put in this receipt too. So this is your fuel receipt. So this was also the same day, so same day of the 12th of February. Wonderful, and again just put fuel travelling to Sunshine Coast. Maybe even put how much, so you put in 17.8 litres. And then maybe just put 94 octane. Well, that will do. Yeah, perfect. Wonderful. And then under category, we're going to choose the category it's going to fall in.
Mileage.
Petrol. Perfect. And the total cost of that came to $52.50. Alright, perfect. Alright, so as discussed with the formulas, every time that you put a new price, it's actually going to calculate the cost for you. Do you have any other receipts with you that
No.
you need to claim? Perfect. So with the expense reimbursement form, just always make sure that you've got your receipts with you. As stated on the form, head office won't approve, and your manager as well won't approve any of these forms if they don't actually have the physical copy of the receipt. You can also do a statutory declaration, and that's available on our intranet as well. But you've always
just that without the receipt.
Yeah. So if something has happened to the receipts, so if they've gone really bad, they failed to read, they for some reason didn't give you a receipt, you are more than able to fill out a statutory declaration. I would probably recommend having a copy of your bank account just to prove the transaction as all has come out, but just always make sure that it's with the expense form. Do you have any questions about how the formulas work?
No, it all works well.
Perfect. So if you had any more, we would do that. but because you've only got the 2 receipts, that's perfect. So that has calculated it to $88.21. And there's actually a little tick box that you can tick just to make sure that you've got the receipts, which you do. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use the macro. So as mentioned before, macros are an automated way of doing repetitive tasks. So if you scroll back up to the top, we've actually got a print form button. So instead of having to go Control-Alt-P, Control-P or File Print, we've actually just enabled that button to print the form. But before we do that, we're actually just going to check the form to make sure we've filled everything out. So we've got our name correct, our ID number, the week ending that we want it to be paid into, manager's name in your correct department, perfect. Make sure that you haven't missed anything and there's enough description, which there is, perfect. So what we're going to do now is we're going to print form, the button, and that's going to print. If you just press OK, it's going to come up with our company printer. And then if you click OK, I'll actually go get that from the printer just to show you what that looks like. So that's the final copy. So what you'll need to do is you will need to make sure that you sign that. So if you would just like to put a signature down the bottom. Wonderful, and the date as well. So the date you're lodging it. So today is the 14th of February. Perfect. So what you do from here is all managers, so sales manager, administration manager, will have a specific tray for these forms that staff will put them in. And just always make sure that we have these attached. So if you wanted to keep the receipts for yourself,
should we like staple them to the...
Correct, yes. You can always make copies. We do also recommend maybe saving the copies to the local drive, so the H drive, saving it underneath your sales folder. So what we'll do is we'll make sure that these are placed with your form. Perfect. And we'll get the manager to sign. So what happens from there is if the manager is okay with it and they sign off, it then goes to payroll, and then payroll will process it through with your next week's pay.
Oh, so it just goes in, gets added
onto your salary or your wage. Perfect. So far we've gone through understanding what the expense reimbursement form is, why we have gone through updating these new templates, and then going through and actually filling out the form with something that you've actually done this week, so your own receipts. Did you understand how the drop boxes work? Any feedback or questions?
In the description, if we run out of like space to type, what do we do there?
Good question.
Should we just try to summarise it better?
Try and summarise it as much as you can. But what we can also do is you can actually maybe tab it. So if you go into the next cell, you can actually maybe use that for more writing as well. But the description doesn't have to be an essay. It just needs to be clear and concise, just so they know what it is. But that is good feedback. And you understand that you can actually use tab to move from. Perfect. Did you understand how the formula works? So the formula is already inbuilt, so you shouldn't have to touch anything. And we always just make sure that we include the GST as well, which is always on the receipt. And did you understand how the macros work? Perfect. Alright, so that was the form filled out. Again, you're probably going to be in a sales role filling these out quite a lot. We do ask, and management has made clear that we, staff members, if you're not approved, to not make any changes. So with that feedback, if you find that there's not enough space in the description, please, give that to the administration officer, and we can always update the template. The template will be saved, and it is saved in the intranet that you can access, but you can also access it in the H drive as well. So each department has their own folder and then subfolders. We do need this to be saved as well. So if you wanted to go and save it into your folder, so if you go File, Save, perfect. And then we're going to choose a folder. So your sales, we're going to go Cinco.
Where do we go for that?
So if you go file, go
Oh, yeah,
save
so-
as.
I'll save as.
Perfect. Browse. And then we're just going to go Synco
In the file name.
in the file names. Sorry. So just go Synco,
Oh,
and then we're going to go sales,
oh, yeah.
and then we're going to go expense reimbursement forms.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. And then with the file name, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we do have the naming conventions which are available here.
Mhm.
So we're going to call it expense reimbursement form, and then underscore.
Yep.
Your name, so James Crew,
Oh, yeah.
and then the date that you're lodging it, so underscore, and then we're going to go 14/02/20. So that way, if we ever need to go back and have a look at that, we actually know that it was filled out.
Yep.
Then we're going to go save.
Yep.
Perfect. Alright, so we can close out of that now. So that's all saved, and we've got the hard copy ready to be placed into your manager's tray.
Mhm.
So now what I'll get you to do is, next to you've actually got a evaluation form.
Oh,
If you would like to just quickly fill that out, just to let me know how you thought I went, and if there was any improvements, if you weren't clear on anything. And then after that, we'll just see if there's any questions that you have about the process.
is that it? Oh, okay.
Just perfect.
14th.
14th of February. Wonderful, so that's all filled in. Did you have any questions?
No, it was all pretty straightforward.
Straightforward? Okay, wonderful. So by the looks of it, you've got your next training for the professional development application form, but that will be with Leonard, and that will be on Monday.
Yeah.
So that form's going to be more of a Word template compared to an Excel template.
Yeah.
But once you've had training in these two, and I've marked you off in our system,
Mhm.
you'll then be able to use those forms.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you.